Добрый день, уважаемые коллеги.
Dear colleagues, good evening. Concluding the conference of the Prosecutor Generals from Europe, I'd like to extend my gratitude for our constructive dialogues and interesting speeches, and I hope I will express our general opinion that it has been a very useful event for all of us, and a lot of ideas worthy of attention were mentioned in enhancing the roles of prosecutors in order to resolve the existing issues, and I think we will have to analyze them in detail and further on use them in our work. In this regard, I'd like to kindly ask you to send your report, if possible, up to the 1st of August in order for this report to be published on our website of the Prosecutor's Office of the Russian Federation. And I think that the International Association of Prosecutors and the Council of Europe can publish them on their websites as well. And the Russian Prosecutor's Office is always open for transparent cooperation. And I'm confident that in order to protect human rights, we should act in transparent way. I'd like to give the floor to Deputy General Secretary of the Council of Europe, Mr. Berge. Please, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, Prosecutor General of the Russian Federation, Secretary General of the International Association of Prosecutors, Prosecutors General, distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen. The Council of Europe's statute is clear and direct in its aims. Multilateralism and cooperation are the means for member states, and here I quote, to achieve greater unity by agreements and common action in legal and administrative matters, end quote. And to conclude, by these means, to further realization of human rights and fundamental freedoms are secured. It has always been clear that prosecutors have an essential role to play, ensuring that this vision translates to everyday reality. Your cooperation is required to share experience, insight, and best practice so that there is consistency across our common legal area. I am therefore grateful to the Russian General Prosecutor's Office and the International Association of Prosecutors for organizing this important event, together with the Council of Europe, including the Venice Commission and the European Commission for the Efficiency of Justice. It is a clear signal of our shared determination to deepen the relationships that already exist. And it builds on the long-running work of the Council of Europe's Consultative Council of European Prosecutors. This provides a platform for exchange between prosecution services, enhancing their independence, impartiality, and competence. It's
Я думаю, что сейчас наши технические службы возобновили.
Unfortunately, there was a problem with sound. The technical services are working on that in order to get us back to Mr. Berge. Let's wait for some minutes. Unfortunately, under these circumstances of COVID pandemic, we are used to this type of technical problems. I sincerely hope that our technical specialist will be able to resolve that so that it will work smoothly, like clock.
Secretary General of the International Association of Prosecutors, Prosecutors Generals, distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen. The Council of Europe Statute is clear and direct in its aims. Multilateralism and cooperation are the means for member states, and I quote, to achieve greater unity by agreements and common action in legal and administrative matters, end quote. And to conclude, by these means, the further realization of human rights and fundamental freedoms are secured. It has always been clear that prosecutors have an essential role to play, ensuring that this vision translates to everyday reality. Your cooperation is required to share experience, insight, and best practice, so that there is consistency across our common legal area. I'm therefore grateful to the Russian General Prosecutor's Office and the International Association of Prosecutors for co-organizing this important event, together with the Council of Europe, including the Venice Commission and the European Commission for the Efficiency of Justice. It is a clear signal of our shared determination to deepen the relationships that already exist. And it builds on the long-running work of the Council of Europe's Consultative Council of European Prosecutors. This provides a platform for exchange between prosecution services, enhancing their independence, impartiality, and competence. Its soft law recommendations and guidelines also steer the profession towards best practice, which help address long-term problems. Take, for example, Consultative Council's opinion on fighting corruption and related economic and financial crime. Equally, we have seen dynamic initiatives that address new and pressing problems. A case in point being its opinion last year on the role of prosecutors in emergency situations, which laid out good practice to follow during the pandemic period. The Consultative Council also contributes to our pan-European human rights education for legal professionals, whose online courses are used by many prosecutors' offices. I encourage all of you to make use of these tools. This is important because ultimately each of them helps prosecutors do their bit to implement the European Convention on Human Rights. Next month, Protocol 15 will enter into force, enshrining the principle of subsidiarity in the Convention's preamble. In this, the Council of Europe is stepping up its efforts to support all domestic authorities in playing their role. This includes ensuring the execution of judgments from the European Court of Human Rights, but it also involves anticipating where national case law might result in violations of the Convention and the intervening to put this right. On this too, the Council of Europe stands ready to help. National prosecutors also have a role in ensuring full respect for the principles of fair trial in criminal proceedings, in line with the case law of the Strasbourg Court, and to require adequate sanctions for human rights violations, and to promote the adoption of general measures that prevent further infractions. This point is pertinent to the new role of the Russian Prosecutor's Office, which I know has been discussed at this conference. It is legal tradition in the Russian Federation to give prosecutors a role outside criminal procedure. And the same is true in some of our other member states. The Council of Europe, through recommendations of the Committee of Ministers, is clear that beyond criminal law, the remit of prosecutors should be to represent the general or public interest, to protect human rights and fundamental freedoms, and to uphold the rule of law in an independent and transparent manner. So the new role of the Russian General Prosecutor's Office, representing its country at the European Court of Human Rights, involves an additional an important human rights responsibility. And it will be central to implementing the European Convention and the Strasbourg Court's judgments, which requires both individual measures for the applicants and general measures to solve the broader problems at the origin of the violations. Indeed, I hope that every prosecutor in every member state will maintain this approach, whether their remit is restricted to criminal law or ranges beyond it. Certainly, our organization will be there to support you on that journey. I am pleased that you have taken the decision to commission a revised edition of the Human Rights Guide for prosecutors. This will be a powerful and practical means of support. Along with the International Association of Prosecutors, the Council of Europe will be happy to review and update the guide, not least in light of the rich material presented at this conference. We will also ensure that it is translated and disseminated widely, because we know that the responsibility being placed on this profession is complex and at the same time vital. And we will do our utmost to provide clarity and support. So at the end, let me thank you for all that you do in embedding a human rights culture across our continent. I hope that you have had a successful and informative conference. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Berger. We highly appreciate our partnership with the Council of Europe. Our event is co-organized by the General Prosecutor's Office of the Russian Federation. And it's an indicative example of how constructive our interaction is, and in the light of new powers of the Prosecutor General Office of the Russian Federation, we will be developing our close ties and will strengthen our contacts, and it will help us to timely protect the interests and rights of our citizens. You know that another co-organizer of our conference is the International Association of Prosecutors. It plays a very important part in the life of global prosecutors community, fostering, maintaining non-politicized contacts between the representatives of our profession around the world. It's symbolic that the conference takes place in St. Petersburg, where in 2017 the first regional branch was opened and it is still working. And now it's nice for me to pass the floor to General Secretary of the International Association of Prosecutors, Mr. Moral. Please, the floor is yours.
Mr. Krasnov, Prosecutor General of the Russian Federation, distinguished Prosecutor Generals, delegation leaders, participants from many other countries, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the International Association of Prosecutors, the only worldwide organization for prosecutors, I heartfully thank our host, Mr. Igor Krasnov, and the Russian Organizing Committee for organizing this conference in a perfect way, especially in these difficult times during the pandemic. I also thank Mr. Christos Giacoumopoulos, Director General on Human Rights and Rule of Law of the Council of Europe, and his staff members for giving as co-host this conference that extra touch on these important topics. I can assure you that it was a great honor for the IEP to co-host this conference with the Prosecutor General's Office of the Russian Federation and the Council of Europe. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the main goals for conferences like this is to meet your colleagues, prosecutors general, chief prosecutors, and others, to maintain a network of prosecutorial leaders, able to assist each other and to find each other when needed concerning international cooperation in criminal cases. We should never underestimate the importance of having this network for prosecutorial leaders. In fact, it is also one of the main goals of the annual conference of my International Association of Prosecutors. Prosecutors General, Chief Prosecutors, and many expert prosecutors from all over the world meet during the IEP annual conference to learn from each other and to better knowing each other, to be able to reach out to each other when needed. It pleases me very much that many of you had bilateral meetings during this conference. Honestly, I am a bit jealous about Mr. Krasnov having organized this successful conference here in the beautiful city of St. Petersburg. You might know, due to the pandemic, the IEP annual conference of 2020 had to be cancelled, and the 21 annual was postponed to September 2022. I can assure you we cannot wait to restart this annual event next year. Of course, this conference in St. Petersburg was not only about networking. It was also about the work of prosecutors inside the criminal justice system, but also outside the criminal justice system. What I liked the most was the focus on the citizens of our countries. Prosecutors are not working for themselves, not prosecuting because they just like it. No, prosecutors are working for those citizens, to keep them safe, safe from criminals, safe from unjustified interference from authorities. And if a citizen becomes a criminal, then that prosecutor should act in a fair way. Of course, no doubt, to fight crime, but also to do that what is in line with the perspective of the European Court of Human Rights, with respect to the rule of law and with the guarantees of individual rights in criminal procedures. That important perspective, in combination with the knowledge and expertise to fight against different kinds of crime, be it cybercrime, be it environmental crime, be it just a simple burglary, that combination makes a good prosecutor. Last night, we had the honor to see and listen to a present of Mr. Krasnov, the opera Tosca. And perhaps you did notice that Cavaradossi, in the third act, he sings, "Justice will give them a sacred weapon." How relevant, as doing justice gives prosecutor that sacred power to do their work. The joint resolution of this conference is also reflecting that perspective. The resolution underlines the importance of the rule of law and the role of prosecutors in preventing violations of human rights. In this respect, several important opinions of the Consultative Council of European Prosecutors, CCPE, as well as the IEP standards of security and protection of prosecutors and their families have to be taken into account. Also, Mr. Director General of the Council of Europe, the IEP is accepting the invitation of the resolution to update, together with the Council of Europe, the 2003 IEP Human Rights Manual. And for sure, we will take the first step this year. Ladies and gentlemen, prosecuting is so much more than just prosecuting suspects. Dear host, dear co-host, dear participants, this conference is now ending. The IEP was honored to be your co-host. The IEP was honored to be together with you in this beautiful city of St. Petersburg. Last night, conductor Kerkiev said, "Music builds bridges between the nations of the world." Ladies and gentlemen, the International Association of Prosecutors is building bridges between the prosecutors of the world. On behalf of the International Association of Prosecutors, I wish you a safe journey home. Stay away from COVID, and I hope to see you all next year during the IEP annual conference in Tbilisi in September 2022. Thank you very much.
Благодарю вас.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mbow, the participants of the conference, the organizers have prepared the final document, final resolution of the conference reflecting the outcomes of our work. It contains some recommendations for prosecutors community. It was prepared in both languages. If distinguished colleagues, you don't have any objections, remarks, or supplementations, let's consider it's accepted. Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, by finalizing our high-token event, I'm here to underscore the fact that the Council of Europe was created as a friendly alliance of free nations on the basis of common and shared European civilization. And by joint efforts, we can retain and strengthen those connections. Thank you very much. In the upcoming year, Russian Prosecutor's Office is to celebrate 300th anniversary, tricentennial since the formation of the Prosecutor's Office. When it's a birthday, our loved ones should be together. Dear friends, I invite you all to be here on our gala celebration on the 12th of January 2021 to celebrate. Hope to see you then. Thank you.